WrestleMania. All right, here's what happened. Now, I was into the whole thing, and I get labeled a very big pro wrestling fan. There was a period of time that I considered myself a very big pro wrestling fan, but seventh grade, that ended. It might have been the sixth grade that ended. I came back in college, you had The Rock, and you had Austin. Of course, I followed CM Punk. I mean, it was one of these things. And other than that, you see it when you see it. Can you guys relate to that? I say that for you because I was very into this WrestleMania, but not for the reasons that you would think. I was into this WrestleMania because of how much the UFC and the WWE playbook goes hand in hand. It's very tough to find an example that either organization has done in 20 years that succeeded, that the other organization did not quickly come out and do. And this was not a secret. Lorenzo Fertitta, when CEO of the UFC, did an interview, and Lorenzo said, we searched the earth. We looked into every sports franchise business model that existed all the way up to the New York Yankees, and the model that we chose to follow was that of the WWE. So this is not a secret. But some people don't observe that, or they don't remember the interview when Lorenzo did it, or they're big fight fans and they hate when you even bring up professional wrestling. Now, that's very unique. Like, by example, let's say you took a big-name fighter, and you took them and put them front row at a WWE event. Some of the fans might know who it was. The wrestlers probably won it, and the wrestlers who did simply would not care. The opposite goes if you take one of the WWE's guys and puts them in the front row to UFC. All of our fans are going to know. All of our fans are going to make them feel welcome. And every fighter is going to hope that that wrestler comes into the back and that they get to meet him. It's different in that regard. Now, the reason I tell you I was interested is the first time ever WWE decided to do back-to-back nights for WrestleMania. There was 2 WrestleManias this year. There was 2 WrestleManias this weekend. You had one on Saturday. Then you had the traditional Sunday. The reason I wanted to see if this is interesting is because when the numbers come out, if in fact both organizations do take ideas and go back and forth, we could have 2 mega fights coming up in the near future, which for me as a fight fan would love that. Now, I made that comment to another fight aficionado, said, Chael, you're looking at this all wrong. This isn't the UFC going to observe what the WWE did and possibly grab it. This is the WWE finally observed what Dana did 3 years ago, known as International Fight Week, where Dana ran back-to-back-to-back nights. Now, I don't know who's right between me and the person that I was arguing with, but I do think that there's a difference. I think there's a very big difference when you were bringing your absolute biggest draws and you evened them out through the weekend. I think that is very different than if you play the Palms on a Friday night, even if you throw a world title up, versus a pay-per-view at the MGM Grand on a Saturday. I think they're different. And I think WrestleMania stepping forward, selling 60,000 tickets to both nights and bringing in equal star power for the cards is potentially something different that we could see down the road. Look, every promoter would like to play 2 shows for 1 setup cost. Every promoter. You just don't get to do it very often. You will see this in the world of music. Garth Brooks, by example, some bitch is so big, he will play the same venue for an entire week and he'll do it twice a day. Came through Portland, played a 3 o'clock show, started another show at 7:30. Every single day, sold them all out. So it's not completely a new concept, but I just want to see how this was going to go. I want to see what their numbers are. I want to see if it's something that we could look forward to in the future. All right, great. There's my thought. Now, Stone Cold's going to come out. This is a very big deal. Stone Cold has been removed from the sport, I believe, for 13 years. They announced it 11 years. Don't think that you have to correct me. It has been a period of time, but he was serious. He truly was done. He has moved on with his life. He went into show business and he went into podcasting and he moved away. And he did all these. He quit training and some of the muscles even went away. It's one of those. He moved on with his life. He's 53 years old, 57 years old. He's going to come back. And I'm just wondering, how long has he known and what's that match going to look like? Stone Cold was one of the wrestlers that I liked the most because I liked the way that he performed. Many people will give Hulk Hogan a hard time and say he didn't know the difference between a wrist lock and a wristwatch. I prefer that. I don't think wrestling should look like cooperation and look like theatrics between 2 athletes. I think it should look like a fight. It should look and appear like a struggle. And Stone Cold has one of those matches where he can go out, one of those styles of matches. He can go out, throw a kick to your stomach. He can start throwing hands at you. He can start blocking. He can fire back. You hit him. It's not about her and Karanas and who can do a drop kick. I don't know if Stone Cold's ever done a drop kick, which is a nerdy thing to do in wrestling anyway. If you're ever in professional wrestling and you find yourself climbing the ropes, you failed. You have to go to that level of athleticism because you're not over any other way. I mean, in all fairness, you need to know that. If you can't go out and have a match like Hulk Hogan and or Stone Cold, you failed. That's okay. Go into that category. That represents most of you. But as you're going up those ropes, know that you're a bit of a dork. Fine. So I was thinking about this going into the match. What kind of shape is Stone Cold going to be in? What kind of shape can you be in? He's got 10 different things going on just that I know about, and I only know because I watch them. I see these different programs, and how much time is he going to spend in the wrestling room? Now, he ended up looking great, and he ended up doing exactly what I'm describing as he went out and got into a street fight. He took one bump that was unnecessary, that was a suplex on the concrete floor. Stone Cold should not be taking suplexes, and Kevin Owens, who weighs 300 pounds, shouldn't be suplexing anybody. It should all look like a fight. It was the only down spot of the whole match is when they decided to come to some kind of athletic display, and look at us, we're not on a canvas. Well, you dumb son of a bitch, you should have been, because there's one right there. You're going to do a suplex. Why wouldn't you do it in there? Why would you do it out? Here's the only part that I was upset about. He looked awesome. He looked great, but it's also a style of a match. Not a lot of guys could come back and do this, and I'm telling you one of the reasons he could. Now, if you want to be spreading the credit around, you must give it to Logan Paul. Logan Paul was as fine as anybody that was in there all weekend, and this was only the best of the best. Now, that was just his in-ring performance. Logan Paul, much like his brother, they just have it. There's a reason those two worked on YouTube. There's a reason those two were dedicated. They just have it. There's something happening. They can tell a story with facial expressions, which if you can't do, you can't tell a story, which brings you to the low light of the whole weekend, which was done by Vince McMahon. Vince McMahon does not have the athletic pros. Now, you have to understand this if you're ever acting, okay? If you're ever acting, there's many things that you can do to get yourself on camera, but if you're a good storyteller, you will do it with your face. When they go to Vince, who does not have the athletic prowess, his face is frozen. It can't move. I never realized all of the work that Vince had done until they zero on him for WrestleMania, and he's trying to tell a story. Now, he has to tell a story with his face and his eyes because he's not speaking into a camera. He has to do that. His face was frozen. It couldn't move. It was the low spot of the entire weekend. It was a huge miss. And one thing that's hard for guys that are in the business of tough guys is not being one. It's hard. And you defer back from a psychological standpoint to high school, where if you want to get your way and you want to be the boss, if push comes to shove, you got to be able to whip everybody's ass here. Now, an adult male no longer subscribes to that. They will show a respect to your title. Whoever is higher might as well be bigger. Everybody understands that, except for when sometimes when you get guys in the tough guy business, they don't know that. So they don't even need protein. They spend their time in the gym. They're shooting their ass full of steroids. It's one of these really weird things, but it was also the low spot, and I don't think he's going to be able to go back. I'm either going to be right and he will absolutely never return because he wanted to put this tough guy image and he couldn't. I mean, this was bad, guys. This was bad. He got put over by a guy that had only had one match, and thank God for McAfee. I did not realize that Vince clotheslined McAfee because I did not see it. I knew when Jimmy Smith announced it and told the world. I'm like, okay, it was a close. I accepted it. And the next time Vince did anything was also McAfee running him, and supposedly Vince closed. It was most certainly wasn't a clothesline, but we're going to call it that. I'm not looking to give him a hard time. This is just a reality. And I guarantee you I'm right. He came out of there and he's having big psychological problems. Go, oh my God, what am I doing? I just showed the world that I don't have it anymore. He's either never going to go back, which is my prediction, or he comes back tonight and tries to right that wrong because that will eat at you. I assure you of that much. You roll over to Lesnar. Lesnar is bigger now than Lesnar ever was. Lesnar's character now is bigger than it's ever been, and Lesnar is having more fun now than Lesnar has ever had. The problem, Lesnar's 44 years old. Taking on Roman, who's 33 years old. Lesnar has to put him over. That's the rule of the business. Fine, we all knew it going in. Ronda has a match. Ronda came out and looked great. Not to mention, Ronda doesn't get enough credit for her ability to adjust. Many people gave Ronda a hard time from our side of the tracks, that when things didn't go her way, she took her ball and go home. That was true. You could give Ronda that criticism. All the acclaim that you gave her, you could give her that criticism. You would be within your limits. You would be stating what you saw and getting your negative energy out to somebody that had it really well. You could do that. But if you stop right there, you haven't told the whole story. Ronda converted, which is the most difficult thing that you could ever do. If you're in front of the public eye and you can convert and take one audience over here and then excel, that's the rest of the Ronda story. She took time off. She did what she wanted to do. She became a mother. She became a wife. She went and lived the life that she wanted, and she still got her ass back in shape. She still didn't miss a step. And she still wasn't the jerking the curtain for anybody. So if you're anywhere on the Ronda train, if you're a fan or you're a detractor, if you're going to tell the story fairly, Ronda did an awesome job, and she did not take her ball and go home. She went home for a brief period of time. She licked her wounds, and she converted, which is an extremely difficult thing to do.